Hi, my name is Shelby, and this is my channel where I just kind of talk to the camera. I fell down the stairs again today. However, it wasn't because I was belligerently incoherent for reasons like last time. I think my stairs might just suck, to be perfectly honest with you. I am feeling really great, so what I'm going to do right now, well, anyways, so what I've been doing is just focusing on things that kind of make me happy, because I do firmly believe that happiness is a choice. And I think you can not necessarily control your emotions in the moment, but I do think that you can set yourself up to be generally happier in life with your decisions that you make. So I am just trying to focus on doing things like that because there is no reason why I should choose to be upset or stressed or anything like that. So I need to get myself back under control. With all of that in mind, today I'm probably going to talk about some boring subjects because a lot of the things that I enjoy doing with my time happen to be boring, and I briefly touched on some of the ideas that I had as far as synopsisizing books or TV shows in a dumb way. However, this isn't going to be like a series or anything. It's just I saw a beetle in my house yesterday, and I'm not a big fan of bugs. I did scream. It reminded me of an anthology that I watched years ago, and it inspired some art pieces for me whenever I used to do art. I no longer draw anymore. However, I really liked the style of the movie, and I would put it on and I think I watched it a few times just so that I could feel the aesthetic and draw in the same shape language as the movie, because it's a movie, but it's episodic. So there's 3 parts to it. It's called The House. Anyways, so I felt inclined to turn on this movie, and the last time that I watched it, I actually had showed it to a really close friend of mine. Well, I consider them a close friend, even though, honestly, this friend and I, we don't talk very frequently. When we do, I feel as if I don't really have to limit what I say to them, though. I feel very safe talking to this friend, and I don't know exactly why, but sometimes that's how it goes. You feel like somebody just gets you, and you feel like you can just be very open with them. I don't know how to explain it. Anyways, so this movie kind of takes me back to that time period of my life, I think 2022 maybe. It's interesting because I don't necessarily know that I understood the movie in its entirety at the time. I think it's a really symbolic movie, and not only is it artistic and aesthetic, which is the main reason why I watch a lot of films. I used to always watch them for their artistic and cinematic direction, the art direction in them. It was just always very interesting to me. I love how people frame things in cinema. I love the aesthetics of certain things. I'm not necessarily so fascinated with the process of it, as far as editing and putting it together, as much as the composition and the color palette and the emotions that are meant to be provoked in each scene. I have a friend, one time we were watching The Boys, and I know he kept rewinding it and showed and pointed out inconsistencies and oh, we can tell that this is edited because this inconsistency right here. You see his shirt's different between this frame and this frame. And it was a very minor inconsistency, and it's something that a lot of people probably wouldn't notice, but he did, because he has he has a really extensive, I'm not phrasing anything right, but he has experience with editing, a lot of experience with editing for YouTube or whatever. I'm not necessarily as fascinated with the editing process because I do tend to keep my editing at a minimum so that it's a little less work. I do like to insert memes and and sometimes zoom in for dramatic effect. As a lot of you guys probably know. Anyways, so the movie The House is really interesting, and I only watched the ending 2 stories because I didn't really like the first story. I liked the second one and the third story in this weird anthology. In this anthology, this mouse is trying to sell a house, and he essentially is working out of this weird lack mindset. And you can tell from the beginning, he's like, oh, I have to let go of these people because I don't have enough. And he is at this point of like struggle while he's trying to like, you can tell he's in the middle of a remodel and he seems very stressed out. So he's just trying to make do with what he has, and it's extremely difficult, and it's just not quite working out. He orders things for the guests to come in, and he gets boxes of ramen and like energy drinks instead, like stuff that like a gamer would eat. He gets gamer food instead of actual food for guests, or G Fuel. He gets his G Fuel subscription. I'm kidding, but essentially he has like an open house, and there are rats because he's a mouse. So there's rats that come to the open house, and they like it. They like it. Nobody's interested in this house. He didn't do a very good job remodeling it. Everything went crazy because it was just a little too difficult for him. He just kind of tried too hard, and it didn't really work out. So these rats kind of just stay at his house.
Hello? What are you doing?
And they keep saying, oh, we're going to buy it. We're going to buy it.
We're extremely interested in the house.
Well, good night then.
We're going to buy it. Just wait. We'll discuss prices here in a little bit. And they end up just staying there long term and not leaving and kind of mooching off of him and eating all of his food and drinking all of his drinks and using all of the amenities. And he is left sleeping in the basement. And one of the big takeaways with this for me is kind of the quality of your relationships. And this mouse was so desperate for friends that he was calling his dentist and just talking to his dentist, calling his dentist sweetheart on accident and stuff. And they had called the police on them several times. And so I guess what I'm trying to say here is this mouse was so desperate for kinship and friends that he didn't enforce his boundaries well enough with these rats. And they ended up basically invading the home at the same time, which is really symbolic in this movie or episode or episodic anthology, whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, he's having a bug infestation problem as the same exact time. It's like paralleling the rats moving in. And these bugs actually eat all the insulation in his house, and they like illustrate this by a nice musical number, so to speak. I'm not a huge fan of things like this typically. However, it is very symbolic in this moment because even the bugs in his house are taking advantage of this guy. He's not enforcing any boundaries. And this is one of those things where I am happy that the inclination to watch this movie, because I think enforcing boundaries is something that I'm both good at and bad at, depending on circumstances. I think some people I allow so much over, like, dominion over my life if I want them to. And I feel like this movie illustrates that you don't want the wrong people in your life. The second part to this movie about a cat who's a landlord, and she's really stressed out because nobody's paying rent, but they're all extremely kind people. And again, she's being taken advantage of. These people are mooching off of her. She's getting like nothing in return except for like stones and like acts of service and things of that nature. Or like one of the guys is paying in fish, you know, and it's just not fair. She's not getting actually any money out of it, and so she's getting steamrolled over in a way. However, these people are actually genuinely nice people, and she is attached to them. And I think at the end it's kind of a sad ending.
Why didn't he say goodbye to me?
Because I don't really understand the ending in its entirety. This whole movie is very symbolic, and there's so many conclusions you can draw from it. However, I just find it a really unique illustration of enforcing boundaries in your life and making sure you really pick quality friends. And I think that quality is so much more important than quantity, even though at the end of the day, having a quantity of friends might be amazing because they can all show up for you. But at what cost? Did you let them ruin your entire house? Did you let them tear everything up in your life? Did you let them deteriorate what you had going for you that was good? You know? So is having people in your life worth having low quality people in your life? Maybe I'm analyzing this a little too deeply, though. There's so much you can get out of that movie, and there's a lot of. I'm a very big fan of art films, or even A24 films, or things of that nature, because you can rewatch them several times and get something totally different out every single time. And I think a lot of it depends on where you are in your life and what you can see in it. You know, and I thought of this movie because maybe I am in a spot right now similar to the guy in the second, where you kind of just move into this place. I mean, I didn't just move in, but it's still relatively empty. There's boxes everywhere. There's like random bugs. My house isn't bug ridden because it's dirty or anything. It's actually just because it's empty. Like, and it's on the first floor, and there's not bug ridden. It's just, there was a beetle, and I was like, and sometimes there's like a stink bug, or like, mostly I had a problem with like a fly issue like for a moment, and now they're gone, which is cool. But the second thing that I want to talk to you guys about is, I read this book because I realized that a lot of issues that I have stem from kind of a lack of emotional control on my end. And maybe I feel things a little much, and maybe that's inappropriate and I shouldn't. So the title of it is The Courage to be Disliked. And I thought that it would be about being able to embrace your best self and be okay, being disliked. And in a way it is. However, it kind of delves more into emotional control and working together with other people and being able to manage your own. And this is exactly what I need right now, to be perfectly honest with you. The book theorizes that we should all use emotions as a communication tool. So instead of looking at it as something that happens to you, you should look at it like, this is a tool that I can communicate with, and is it appropriate in this situation? So this book kind of delves into this fact that you can absolutely change any of your behaviors that you want. you have to be willing to, and you have to decide that you want to, because this book basically is saying everything's a decision, which is absolutely accurate, and I completely agree. And it's saying that circumstance does not control, like, cause and effect. It is true. However, we can decide how we respond to these situations. And I'm giving it a really poor synopsis. I just find it really interesting. There's so much more to it than that, and it explains it and elaborates it in so many more details. But in general, I think I need to be a little bit more objective and view my emotions more as a tool before I react to things. Just in life, I think it would help me a lot. I think I've been allowing myself to be a little too emotional lately, and I think that I should just decide to be happier. It is a conscious decision, and I unfortunately have not put myself in positions where I am allowing myself to be happy, because it's almost an allowance. And I was deciding to be upset. I was deciding to be stressed out. I was deciding not to enjoy things. And that's a really hard pill to swallow, and you can actually change. You just have to want to. And like I said, I think it would help me if I decided to view emotions more as a tool for building, Anyways, that's kind of where I am today. Oh, and then I'll share my food with you guys today. This is my breakfast, and this is my lunch, blah, blah, blah. I did wake up and I made breakfast. And again, I made that weird little veggie stir fry that I made yesterday. And I made 2 eggs for breakfast. And I chopped up some strawberries, and I had some black coffee and water with some Liquid IV in it. I am drinking the blueberry flavor of Liquid IV currently. And the second thing that I had today was my lunch, and I had a baked potato and some power greens, and then I also had an egg. I made, hard-boiled eggs. I'm not a huge fan of them. However, if I'm eating a more vegetarian-based diet again, because that's at the time that I was probably my happiest, when I was eating more vegetables. And it's not that I'm totally vegetarian or anything. I'm not going to stick my nose up at meat eaters or eat less. Well, I'm going to eat less meat myself, but I'm not going to stick my nose up at being offered meat. However, I am just going to focus on putting a little more protein into my body that is more plant-based or dairy-based. So moving forward, and again, I do apologize that this is a little dry, but these are the things that I've been thinking about and theorizing about, and that's the book and movie that I've watched. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you. You are wonderful, and I love you. Goodbye. I'll talk to you later.